So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being part of our third webinar. We are really excited about today. We have Don Outing, who will talk about getting ready for college success. Don Outing is a vice president at Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. He oversees diversity, inclusion, and equity. He's also a member of the mathematics department. I've known Don for 10 years. I first met him when he was at West Point. And at West Point, he was also a mathematics professor. He was the provost for diversity. And Don brought robotics workshops to CFES schools and communities really across the country. There have been 3,500 CFES scholars that have participated in those workshops. So Don is a wonderful friend of CFES. He's a wonderful friend and advocate for students, especially first-gen students. And Don, I thank you very much for being here. My first question for you, Don, is there's a cohort of 12th graders out there who lost the last third of their senior year. And I think that makes it especially difficult to jump off and be ready for college. What can those seniors in high school who will no longer be going back to high school, but their next step will be college? What can they be doing? What should they be doing? And what can we as educators do to support them? Thank you, Don.
Well, thanks, Rick, and thanks for inviting me to participate on this call. You know, you've known me a long time. This has always been a long passion of mine, and that is creating access for students and pathways for students to attend college. You know, I'm a first-generation college student myself, and so I have always spent most of my career, professional career, in higher education, as well as in service to my country. So to answer your question, what 12th graders should be doing right now is applying, taking advantage of this. While this is not the ideal situation, there are opportunities that they should be taking advantage of. For example, many colleges like Lehigh are waiving admissions fees because we understand this hardship on many students. Also, encouraging students to really do their homework and checking out as many institutions as they possibly can. What I have found is that a lot of students, especially first generation, lower income students that have been historically underrepresented at elite institutions, don't necessarily apply to those institutions. And they don't apply because of the sticker price. You know, they get a little shocked by the cost, not understanding that there is a lot of financial aid out there to support students. And these days, colleges and universities have been very generous in trying to attract talent from all geographic backgrounds, from all socioeconomic backgrounds, from all generational backgrounds. So there's a lot of opportunities for students out there. So investigate those opportunities. You know, while you're, you know, one of the things I had to do when I was looking at colleges was we didn't have Google at the time to look up opportunity, to go to the library and get these books, and we would look at what offerings each college had. We would look at the financial aid packages they were the latest at the time, because remember, everything had to come out in print during that time. Now, students can go online and check out colleges and get instant information. I encourage them to take advantage of the virtual tours that colleges are offering. Many colleges, again, like Lehigh University, are offering virtual tours for juniors and seniors to check out. And also, many colleges have extended their deadline on when you, one, can apply, and two, when you have to accept your offer. And many colleges are also moving through their wait lists a lot sooner than previously before. So if you apply somewhere and you've been waitlisted, hold out, because you still may have an opportunity to get picked up there.
Thanks, Don. That's very helpful. It seems to me that success in college, there are almost two levels in terms of starting. There's the before you get to college, and then there's once you get to college. Can you talk more about before students get to college? I mean, when should they be readying themselves for success, and how should they be readying themselves for that success?
Yeah, great question, Rick. As you know, about this is 2020 now. Back in 2008, I began to research that very question. When is that pivot point? When is that point in a student's career where they really should be preparing, and if they're not preparing, there is a huge gap in those who start at a particular time and those don't. And what we found is that the middle school level is a critical point. Everything they do up to that point is important, of course, elementary school, but is at that 7th, 8th grade level where students are beginning to they're starting to formulate some idea of what they want to do and what they want to pursue. And what we've seen is that the decisions that they're making in high school aren't necessarily lining up with what their aspirations are. So, for example, we started the robotics mobile STEM workshop, actually, the mobile STEM workshops, which include a lot of robotics. And we targeted middle school students because we saw that a lot of students, aspirationally, they wanted to be engineers, they wanted to be scientists, chemists, all kinds of different things. But the preparation that they were doing prior to high school and then going into high school was not preparing them to be fast-tracked, if you will, at the college level to be admitted into these programs directly. And so they would have to actually go into these remedial type programs, and they became discouraged, less motivated, and often dropped out of these types of programs. So what we saw was that if we could get students engaged at the middle school levels and then educate them on what types of things they need to do to prepare going into high school. So for example, going into high school, just because you have met the local requirements for mathematics, as an example, doesn't mean you stop there, and being on a part of the admissions committee at West Point, I saw that a lot of times. I saw students who had excellent track records going up into their sophomore and junior year, and then in their junior year, they stopped taking critical classes like mathematics and science, and it's because they met the local requirements. Well, that year gap is a flag, if you will, for admissions folks as they're looking to admit students into some of these very highly technical programs. So again, that middle school level is really that critical time that we need to, one, ensure students are taking the proper classes, preparing themselves for the classes that they need to take in college, but also educating them about the prerequisites and what's going to be required of them come junior year and senior year as admissions counselors are looking at their records.
So, two roads diverge in the yellow wood, and the first road is before college. The second road is I get to college. So come August, we hope this year, those students who are 12th graders will get to college. And what do they need to do to ensure to just up the ante for success? Because we don't want our kids just going. We want them to be happy, successful, and to get a degree. What do they do once they get there?
Yeah, so and that kind of goes to before you get to college. What you do before you get to college is going to impact what happens when you get there. And that's everything from the preparation. So there's the academic preparation that's natural. We could go into great detail on what the academic preparation really should be in more granular detail. But the other thing you should be doing before you get there is looking at the support services and the extracurricular activity that exists at the college or university of your choice. Oftentimes, students, they will stop at, well, I want to go to a particular geographic region, and they'll pick a college based on, or they'll pick the college that's offering them the most admissions or the best admissions package, and not looking at the experience that they're going to have for those 4 years. And this is for the residential experience I'm talking about. So those are, you're going to live on these college campuses for about 10 months out of the year. And so this is going to become your home for 4 years. And we don't necessarily, and I say we because I was a student at one time, or a college student at one time, we don't necessarily look at the life, the campus life, or the support resources the way we should. And so I always encourage students to say, look at what the campus offers. Look at the extracurricular activities. What's your passion? Are you really into sustainability, sustaining an environment? Do they have programs that are going to engage this? So do they have, are you really into community service? Do they have a robust community service program? Do you have that entrepreneurial mindset? Will this college inspire that entrepreneurial mindset no matter what your major is? You might be an English major, but you have this entrepreneurial mind. You want to be able to combine the two. Are you really into the social fraternal organizations? What are those opportunities? Do you have an aspiration to travel abroad? What resources do these colleges and universities provide the opportunities for you to travel abroad? Or is this going to be left solely on you to try to figure out how to do it? So I always encourage students to look at that campus life, look at the resources, look at the academic resources that are available as well. Do they have a robust academic advisory center at the university or college that they're looking at? Once you get there, it's too late to really to investigate that because you're there. And so you're either going to stick it out for the year and transfer someplace else, lose a little time and possibly a little resources along the way. But if you do your homework ahead of time, ask the questions, do the visits, even if it's a virtual visit, go online. Like Lehigh right now, we do a lot of Wizard type online interactions with admitted students where they can ask those very questions. What's the social life like? I am a underrepresented minority from Texas. How will I be received there? What are the support services there that are available to help me transition? On and on and on and on. Ask those questions.
So Don, you, and I guess I a little bit, we're experts, but if we rolled it back quite a few years and we were middle school kids, would you have taken the same path? Would you have advised the Don Outing, who was 14 years old, to do things differently? Tell us about your path.
I probably would have done things differently. I'm glad for the outcome. I think I was fortunate that the choices I made actually worked out in my favor. But I would not, knowing what I know now, I probably would have gone about this differently. For me, I was a 4-letter athlete, letter winner athlete in high school. So, aspirationally, I thought I was going to go off and play football somewhere and probably go into the pros until I was exposed to some other opportunities, and that was the service academies. And once I got exposed to the service academies, I became aware of other opportunities in higher ed beyond just the athletic component of that colleges offered. So that opened my eyes. I was fortunate enough that that occurred for me. Now, how I chose which service academy I went to was typical. I chose the Naval Academy because I grew up in Baltimore, and Annapolis was a 36-minute ride away, and I didn't want to go too far from home. And I wasn't thinking about the differences and the service academies, and for that matter, some of the colleges and universities and what they could have offered as well. I often say, I spent 20 years teaching at West Point, U.S. Military Academy at West Point, and having spent time there, I would have said, wow, I wish I really knew how this program worked here, because I think it would have been better suited for me. I think I turned out okay. However, that environment would have been better suited for young Don Outing at the time. So, I wish I knew a lot of different things. I look how my daughter went to Spelman College, graduated in 2011 from there, and I looked at how she investigated and made her choice for herself. I looked the way my son chose Goucher College in Maryland because of the liberal arts, how it was heavy on liberal arts and how it fit into his personality. And then my youngest daughter, she's here at Lehigh University. She was a non-traditional student who figured out that she needed to do 2 years of community college first, and because she really didn't feel prepared to take on the challenge of a very intense academically intense 4-year institution until she spent 2 years in community college. So, on a personal level, I've seen all the different pathways of going to college, how one goes about choosing the college. It still comes down to a personal choice. But if you do doing the homework, the investigation, asking the questions, it'll make for a more informed decision, but you will also you'll be more satisfied with your decision in the long run as you spend your 4 years or more at the institution of your choice.
So, Don, back to someone arrives at Lehigh or West Point, Naval Academy, RPI, community college. What should that student do to ensure that they're successful? Go to class? Are there people who will help our students, who will ensure that they're successful? What do we do to 100% make sure that we graduate?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Yeah, you said go to class. That's the most important thing, of course. Go to class. Yeah, you got to go to class. Even when you don't feel like going to class, go to class. Get to know your professors. That is very important. A lot of students miss out on that opportunity. I'm also a professor of mathematics. At West Point, I was a professor of mathematics for about 15 years there. And now I adjunct as a professor here at Lehigh. It's not a part of my job, it is something I love to do. And I will tell you, every professor loves it when they get to know their student on a deeper level than just that interaction that we have with them in class. So get to know your professor. They really do want to get to know you as well. Form a community there. Find your people. One of the strongest things you can do is to, when you get to college, seek out opportunities to find people that are similarly interested in things that you're interested in. Behind me in my virtual background, if you could see this, for those who may be able to, I don't know what they can see, there is Umoja House. Umoja House is a themed living community at Lehigh. Umoja is Swahili for unity. And this is a house that students can choose if they're interested in exploring aspects of multiculturalism and intersectionality as well during their time. So this houses about 30 students there, and we have about 30 themed living communities. 10 of them are for upper class that they can choose to live in while they're at Lehigh University. And these are great opportunities to help people find their posse, if you will. while they're on campus, because it makes a huge difference. Again, like I said, my daughter's at Lehigh, and I watched her navigate Lehigh, and she knows higher ed. She's not first generation. She's seen her father be in higher ed for some time, but she still needed to go find that community to help her connect to the institution, and it's made a heck of a difference for her.
Thank you, Don. The money question. There's so much noise about cost, and it's appropriate that there is noise about cost. You talked about the service academies, zero tuition.
Yeah.
You're at one of those very selective, high-end. And by the way, what an institution Lehigh is. I loved my time there 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and thank you for that. But there are places like Lehigh that I look at the cost, and for me as an 18-year-old, I would have fallen over. How do you deal? What can you tell us about dealing with cost, financing, and education, making it happen?
Yeah, that's a good question, Rick. So often people see the cost of places like Lehigh University and other elite institutions. And when I talk about elite institutions, I'm talking about those that are usually ranked in the top 100 of the 3,000 college and universities that exist in the United States. We're talking about the top 100. They often come with a somewhat high cost. But the cost of admission is not necessarily the cost of attending. So if you are in a certain socioeconomic status, there is a lot of money, financial aid as it's called, that's available to help supplement that cost. On average, the average student at Lehigh, when you average it all out, they probably only pay 50% of what the admission price is. Some students pay zero, others pay full cost, and it's depending on what, they have a formula that determines what your family expectation is, based on it's usually your household income and other assets that are available. Now, often though, this does become a financial burden, if you will, for those students that are in that range where they make or their family makes just a little bit too much money to qualify for full financial aid. So if you're in that bracket below that level, whatever that level is at the time, then you're going to be okay, because there's a lot of federal money to tap into as well as institutional money. Those other folks, it does create a financial burden. That is why institutions like Lehigh University wants to make access to Lehigh available for anyone who's qualified and wants to attend. That's why we do a lot of fundraising around scholarships. And these are usually merit-based scholarships or even need-based scholarships. So, right now, for example, Lehigh is on a $1 billion campaign. We just launched this campaign a couple of years ago. We're a couple of years in, and we've raised over half of the $1 billion goal that we were set out for. $500 million of that is to go towards financial aid. That's to support students who want to come to Lehigh, but can't necessarily afford it because they don't fully qualify for the federal funds, but they academically have done very well and are prepared to attend. So we want to be able to provide loans and scholarships to those students so they can attend Lehigh. So that's another part of the investigation you want to look at, is look at the financial aid packages that are available at these institutions. Don't just look at the cost, think that's what I'm going to have to come up with. There are a lot of opportunities, if you will, to reduce those costs. And we also have a lot of funds that support the cost of after you attend as well, so you can participate in some of those high impact experiential learning opportunities that we talked about before, like internships, study abroad, things like that.
So, Don, just another quick question about cost. I'm accepted at Lehigh, and I also get into Boston College and University of Vermont. And it's going to cost me less to go to Boston College, but I don't really want to go to Boston College. What do? Do I mail in the deposit, the enrollment deposit to BC? Or do I get on the phone or text, email folks at University of Vermont and Lehigh and say, hey, can you do any better?
Yeah, absolutely, you should be doing those types of things, you know. Most likely they'll tell you, hey, fill out the application, we'll take a look, and depending on what your financial status, they'll, you know, some places will waive the fees. Like I said, now is a good time if you're applying for college, because a lot of institutions are waiving the fees because of the current situation. So take advantage of that. But, you know, yeah, definitely call up and you let folks know, and they'll just say, hey, fill out an application. Usually, you know, there might be a modest application fee, but you're not going to be required to drop a deposit or anything like that until you decide that's where you want to go. That's why I say, as much as you can, explore your financial options. You're absolutely right about, you know, this place, I can go in-state, University of Maryland or whatever, because I'm an in-state resident, it's going to cost me this, and so I'm going to take this, not realizing that, hey, you know, had I applied to, say, Lehigh University, I probably could have gone for the same cost or even less because of the resources that some of these institutions are able to provide to attract talent. You know, our number one goal is to attract talent, and talent does not have a socioeconomic boundary. The talent is not restricted by race or gender or generation. You know, talent is everywhere, and the more diverse talent that we're able to bring to our campus, we think that makes for a better residential experience for everyone. So a lot of institutions believe that, especially the top institutions and the elite institutions, and that's why we are, you know, spend a lot of time and a lot of resources trying to attract that talent to our institution. Thank you, Don. That was very helpful. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to go to questions from participants in the webinar audience. A lot of talk about STEM, and you need to major in STEM. You need to focus on STEM because that's where the jobs are. Is there any sort of tension on the Lehigh campus or elsewhere between STEM and the liberal arts, the humanities, the foreign languages, the social sciences? No, not really. No, I wouldn't say tension. Tension doesn't exist. So, you know, Lehigh is mostly known for being a engineering college because that's the way it started out. So most people, when they think of Lehigh University, they think of engineering. But the engineering school is not the largest college here. You know, our College of Arts and Sciences is one of our largest colleges. So, you know, if your passion is STEM, one of the reasons why we focus a lot of information and communication, I say we, meaning higher ed, the federal government, is because there was for some time this shortage of those who were going into STEM fields or pursuing STEM careers. That's why a lot of the emphasis was there. Not because everybody needs to go into STEM, that's the only place where jobs exist. But there was a huge shortage of those who were pursuing these technical type fields. That's why a lot of emphasis and resources were being put into encouraging students. That being said, you know, these elite institutions like Lehigh University have so many offerings. You know, like I said, our College of Arts and Sciences is one of our largest colleges here. We just launched a new college, the College of Health, because what we know is health services, medical services, the delivery of healthcare is a huge emerging field, growing field. And that's beyond just the practitioners that operate in it. We're talking about administratively and the technical aspects of supporting healthcare. throughout the world is a huge it's a huge undertaking, and we see now that we need a lot more professionals in that field to help address some of those shortcomings in healthcare. So that's why one of the reasons why this is one of our newest colleges. Now, our College of Education, and of course our College of Business is probably the quickest growing college as well. So while STEM, it is very important for students that have any type of aspiration to pursue these science or technical or engineering or mathematical type pursuits, to prepare early. It does not mean that's the only thing they should be thinking about pursuing in college. Now, I will also say that one of the reasons why we focused on these mobile STEM workshops was because many students don't decide what they want to pursue, make the final decision of what they want to pursue until in their high school years. And we were trying to address the fact that many students really that wanted to go into these technical type areas hadn't done the proper preparation to prepare, and we needed to catch them early. Now, if you've done that preparation for STEM, you go ahead and pursue STEM, but if at some point you decide, well, this isn't for me, this is what I'm gonna do, you can always move and pivot. And you can use some of your technical expertise to bring some different aspects to business, to political sciences, to health. You'll have a broad capacity, a broader capacity as you pursue a major in college.
Thanks, Don. And what wisdom deciding that you're going to create a health school.
Say that again?
Well, the fact that you will soon have a health academy, a health school, you must have seen the future at Lehigh.
Oh yeah, that's the vision of our provost and our president. John Simon's our president, and Pat Farrell is our current provost. And they had this vision at some time that healthcare was going to be a critical field. And I don't know how they, it's like they saw the future, because right now the shortage of healthcare professionals, like I said, this goes beyond just our practitioners, like our nurses and doctors, but those administrators in those positions, those who are studying how to deliver healthcare in an equitable way, addressing with some of the trauma. People talk about the food deserts that exist in some of our areas, but we have trauma deserts that exist as well, where healthcare is not accessible and equitable everywhere. And so we need people to study that and to look at these issues as well.
Don, I can't believe it. It's 2:30. We so appreciate your time. Always a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for being a 10-year dear friend of CFES and all of the students and educators who are at a better place because of Don Outing. Don, if I'm a student, I want to go to Lehigh, I'm an educator, I want to recommend somebody to Lehigh, can I give you a call?
Of course. Of course. You can reach out to me, and I have a whole team of people that work on these, helping people gain access to Lehigh University and find ways to get them here, and be happy to get them connected with the right people that's going to make their dream come true.
So a special tour for CFES scholars?
Oh yeah, always. Always, Rick. You know that. We were trying to set up a tour. I think that we had something happen, and we weren't able to make it happen.
Well, we're going to make it happen soon. Don, thank you so much.
Thank you. You wanted to take some questions now?
I think our time is up at this point. It is 2:30. So, and we have one question if you have a moment, and that is, how do we meld the middle school and high school processes together when they're in two separate buildings? We want you to be a secondary school practitioner here, Don.
So the question is, how do we properly meld the middle school and the high school process together when they are two different buildings?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, if, you know, I can only speak in the theoretical, and I can only speak in a manner of, I am not a school superintendent. So in the idealistic state, you know, our middle school experience would be very much tied to our high school experience. And I think when you look at systems, like there are some places where you go and K through 12 is an integrated process. As students move and they get tracked along the way as they progress through middle school to high school. Bigger systems, larger systems like those that we have here in Philadelphia, for example, Pittsburgh, other areas. Yeah, that's tough. I don't have the answer to it, Rick, because you know, the way our school systems are set up, the way they're run by the states, way we have public systems versus private systems, that's a really tough call. But ideally, the ideal way right now is what we've encouraged through a lot of our outreach is we would create opportunities, if you will, or alliances between middle school and high schools. And so we would create this consortium, if you will, of middle schools and high schools that would work together in preparing students for college. And really, in the absence of some sort of formal script that created that, I would say that it needs to be done on the grassroots level, where I think educators, administrators need to find a way for their middle school and their high schools to work together. I remember my wife worked in Westchester County, and she was a linguist, as a matter of fact. And one of the things that I saw the foreign language department do there, something that I wish more departments did, is that they would have monthly meetings between the middle school foreign language teachers and the high school foreign language teacher, and they would prepare the curriculum together jointly. So the middle school curriculum was actually preparing them for the foreign language that they were going to take in the high school level. I did not see all departments do that.
Don, once again, thank you. We're going to sign off at this point, and you and I will talk soon.
Okay, that's great. And also, I want to point to Matt Link and what he's posted there. Some of his answers are spot on when he talks about using the CFES mentors to train high school mentors for the middle school students. I think that's a great idea as well.
Great, excellent. Thanks, Don.
All right, thank you.